The evening had settled over New York City like a gentle sigh, the lights of the skyscrapers flickering like distant stars. In the quiet corner of a little-known park, a shimmering portal opened silently, unseen by the bustling city around it. From this portal, a figure emerged, clad in a flowing garment that glimmered with a light of its own, her feet barely touching the soft earth as she stepped forward. Her name was Liriana, princess of the distant planet Vionex. Her eyes, a deep violet, scanned the horizon with a mixture of awe and desperation. Earth was her last refuge, the only place left that was out of reach of her planet's relentless pursuers. Desperate, Liriana had heard tales of Earth's vast cultures and its resilient inhabitants. As she made her way through the dimly lit streets, dodging the occasional late-night wanderer, her mind was occupied with a single daunting task, finding the one Earthling who could help her. Her research had led her to him, a man named David Miller, known among his peers as an advocate for extraterrestrial communication and rights. A rare breed on a planet still grappling with its own divisions. Reaching the modest apartment building where David resided, Liriana hesitated. The decision to involve a stranger in her troubles weighed heavily on her, but the stakes were too high. With a deep breath, she pressed the buzzer, an unexpected guest. David, a lanky man with disheveled hair and curious eyes, answered the door. His surprise at seeing a stranger at this hour quickly turned to concern as he took in her appearance. "Can I help you?" he asked, one hand still on the door, ready to close it if necessary. "Please, you must listen to me." Liriana's voice was a mix of urgency and fear. "My name is Liriana. I come from Vionex and I'm in grave danger. I wish to request asylum on Earth and perhaps to impose upon you even more. I need to become your servant." David's eyebrows shot up. "My what now? Look, it's late and I think maybe—" "No, please!" She cut him off, her voice trembling. "It's not what it sounds. I don't mean a servant in the traditional sense. I need protection under Earth's laws, and in return, I can offer knowledge, assistance, anything." A decision at midnight. David scrutinized her for a long moment, the silence stretching between them. Finally, he stepped aside, gesturing for her to enter. "Okay, you better come in and explain everything." As they sat down in his cluttered living room, Liriana shared her story. She spoke of Vionex, a planet rich in resources but torn by conflict. Her royal status made her both a beacon of hope and a target for political enemies. The recent coup by a rival faction had forced her to flee, seeking asylum anywhere safe. David listened, his initial skepticism giving way to a dawning realization of the gravity of her situation. "So you're basically saying you need a place to lay low and in exchange you'll— what? Work for me?" "Yes," Liriana nodded eagerly. "I have knowledge of advanced technologies, medical practices beyond anything known on Earth. I can help you with your work, with your mission to aid extraterrestrial beings." An unlikely alliance forms. After a long discussion, David agreed to help Liriana. The arrangement was unconventional, but he understood the necessity. He had always believed that Earth should be a place of refuge for all beings, human or not. As they shook hands, an agreement between two worlds was formed. Liriana's relief was palpable, but both knew this was only the beginning. There were legal challenges to face, cultural barriers to overcome, and dark forces that might still be on her trail. But for tonight, under the safety of David's roof, Liriana could finally breathe a little easier. The stars outside seemed to shine a little brighter, a silent witness to the new bond formed under their light. And so, the journey began. David's apartment transformed overnight. Liriana, despite her royal lineage, was quick to adapt to her new role. Each morning she woke early, preparing meals with ingredients that were strange yet fascinating to her. The aroma of exotic spices mingled with the technological marvels she brought from Vionex, devices that hummed softly and glowed with a gentle luminescence. The task at hand. While David was at work, Liriana's true value became apparent. She turned the living room into a makeshift laboratory, where she meticulously assembled a communications array designed to contact her loyalists back on Vionex. The device, crafted from both earthly materials and Vianexian components, was a marvel of interstellar engineering. David returned each evening to find his home buzzing with new life. Liriana shared her progress, her voice filled with a mix of excitement and caution. "I've managed to send a signal," she explained one night as they sat among schematics and half-eaten dinners. "But we must be careful. If my enemies trace it, they could find me here." Shadows that lurk. Their efforts did not go unnoticed. One evening, as the dusk crept over the city, a chilling sensation swept through Liriana. She sensed a disturbance, a familiar dread that tugged at the edges of her consciousness. "They are here," she whispered, her eyes scanning the darkening streets below. David peered out the window, skepticism furrowing his brow. "Here? Are you sure? This is Earth, not Vianex." "They have their ways," Liriana replied, her voice barely a murmur. "They're like shadows, blending with the night. We need to increase our security, perhaps even relocate." David nodded, his initial disbelief giving way to concern. Together, they enhanced the apartment's security systems, integrating Vianexian technology that made the locks almost sentient. An unexpected alliance. The following days brought an unexpected visitor. Dr. Lena Hartman, a colleague of David's and a biologist specializing in extraterrestrial ecosystems, knocked on their door with an air of curiosity and an eagerness that couldn't be masked. "I heard you've got a guest," Lena said, stepping inside and looking around with wide, inquisitive eyes. "And not just any guest, but a Vianexian princess? David, you do like to keep things interesting." Liriana regarded Lena with a mixture of apprehension and hope. Could she trust another Earthling with her secrets? Yet as Lena shared her knowledge of xenobiology and her passionate commitment to interstellar diplomacy, Liriana felt a budding sense of camaraderie. Plans in motion together, the trio devised a plan. Lena's expertise in biology would help them understand the potential threats Liriana faced, not just politically, but biologically. Vianexians had different physiological responses to stress and fear, which could be used to track Liriana. They worked tirelessly, often through the night, testing theories and building devices. Liriana taught them about her world's advanced biotechnology, which could cloak her physiological signals from potential trackers. As their strategies became more refined, so did their bond. They were no longer just a princess and her protectors, but a unified team facing a common threat. Amidst the whirl of activity, Liriana's initial despair transformed into a cautious optimism. Earth might yet prove to be the sanctuary she hoped for, not because of its isolation from intergalactic conflict, but because of the unexpected allies she found in its inhabitants. Liriana's sense of security was fleeting. Each successful transmission to Vianex drew an invisible noose tighter around their sanctuary. David's apartment, once a haven, now felt like the center of a tightening web, strands of danger stretching unseen across the stars. Cryptic threats. One evening, as the trio tinkered with the communication array, a surge of static burst through the speakers. The crackling settled into a deep, modulated voice speaking in Vianexian. "Return what is not yours," it warned, the words slicing through the tension in the room. Liriana's face paled. She translated the message for David and Lena, her hands trembling. "They're sending threats through our own technology," she confessed. "It means they're not just tracking me. They're hijacking our signals." Countermeasures. Refusing to be intimidated, they doubled their efforts. Lena proposed a daring strategy, to send a decoy signal from a different location, hoping to mislead any pursuers about Liriana's actual whereabouts. They worked into the night, modifying their tech to create multiple ghost signals, echoes of Liriana's presence scattered across the globe. David handled the logistics, arranging for their new equipment to be placed in various remote locations. His network of contacts in the field of extraterrestrial research proved invaluable, as many were more than willing to help, intrigued by the challenge and sympathetic to their cause. Breakthroughs and setbacks. Their plans, however, were not without risks. Each new signal increased the chance of their true location being discovered. The trio lived in a state of high alert, jumping at every unexpected noise, every buzz of their secured entrance. Despite the tension, Liriana continued to share her knowledge, her teachings about Vionex growing more detailed. She explained her planet's political intricacies and the precious resources that had fueled its conflicts. David and Lena absorbed every detail, their strategy adapting with each new piece of information. A night of revelations. It was during one of these late-night sessions that Lena made a breakthrough. Analyzing the intercepted threats, she isolated a pattern, a signature hidden within the static that might lead them to the source of the hijacking. "This could be it," Lena exclaimed, her voice a mix of triumph and apprehension. "If we can trace this back, we might be able to block them for good." Armed with this new hope, they prepared to launch their most ambitious plan yet, to trace the signal back to its origin and deliver a counterattack that would secure Liriana's safety permanently. The risk was monumental. If they failed, their location would be compromised, exposing them all to unknown dangers. As they set their plan into motion, the weight of their task loomed large. Success meant safety and a new beginning for Liriana on Earth. Failure was not a possibility they could afford to consider. The operation was set to coincide with the darkest hours, when the sleepy city unwittingly provided a curtain of anonymity. David's apartment, now a command center bristling with improvised tech, hummed with a palpable intensity as the trio readied themselves for what could be their final gambit. Echoes in the void. Their plan unfolded on multiple fronts. Lena monitored the signals from a bank of screens, her eyes flicking back and forth as each decoy signal pulsed into the ether. David was on communication, coordinating with their allies scattered around the globe, ensuring that each ghost signal was launched without a hitch. Liriana, her expression set in a determined line, manned the main console. Her hands moved with practiced ease, her familiarity with her own technology and unspoken reassurance in the tense atmosphere. The goal was clear: initiate the trace and hopefully sever the link between her pursuers and Earth. A sudden turn. Minutes turned into hours, and just as dawn was about to break, the screens lit up with a flurry of activity. "They're responding," Lena shouted over the din of alert tones. "The decoy in Siberia took the bait." But the victory was short-lived. Another screen flashed a warning, multiple incoming signals, all converging on their true location. "They've split their efforts," David realized, his voice tight. "Some are chasing the decoys, but others are coming straight for us." Desperate measures. The situation escalated quickly. Liriana adjusted the controls, enhancing the power output to their shields, a temporary measure to buy them some time. "We need to initiate the counterattack now," she urged, her voice steady despite the chaos. Lena quickly recalibrated their systems to launch a reverse hack, aiming to infiltrate the pursuer's signal path and disable their tracking capabilities permanently. The tension in the room was palpable, each member of the team aware that every second could make the difference between safety and exposure. The counterstrike. With a final keystroke, Lena initiated the counterstrike. The room fell silent, the only sound the soft whir of machines and the distant hum of the awakening city. On the screens, a virtual battleground unfolded as their codes clashed with the invaders' systems. The countermeasure was a sophisticated algorithm, designed to mirror the invaders' own tactics, misdirection and evasion. As the enemy's signals scrambled to recalibrate, their tracking faltered, buying Liriana and her team precious moments. A narrow escape. Finally, the screen displaying the incoming threats blinked once, twice, and then went dark. The countermeasure had worked. The connection was severed. The tracking signals dissolved into the digital ether. Breathing a collective sigh of relief, the trio allowed themselves a moment of triumph. Liriana's eyes shone with tears of gratitude as she looked at her earthly allies. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You've given me more than sanctuary. You've given me hope." But as the first light of dawn filtered through the blinds, casting long shadows across the room, they knew the struggle might not be over. The pursuers would regroup and possibly return. But for now, Liriana was safe, and their bond, forged in the crucible of conflict, was stronger than ever. They turned their faces toward the new day, aware that the future held more challenges, but united in their resolve to face whatever came next. As the city awoke, the stillness of victory settled over David's apartment, now a fortress of both technology and human resilience. The trio, exhausted yet vigilant, understood that the battle won this night was only a part of a larger war. The price of peace. Liriana, no longer just a fugitive but a fighter, paced the room, her mind racing with the implications of their success. "We've bought some time," she said, "but they will come with more force." David, slumped in his chair, nodded wearily. "We need a more permanent solution. This cat-and-mouse game can't last forever." Lena, her eyes red-rimmed from hours staring at screens, chimed in. "We've proven that Earth technology can interact with Vianexian tech on a deeper level. Maybe it's time to think about a more integrated defense system." Bridging worlds. Inspired by Lena's suggestion, the team embarked on a new project to create a hybrid technology that could permanently cloak Liriana's presence on Earth. Drawing from both earthly and Vianexian advancements, they began designing a system that not only masked her location, but also offered a means of passive defense against potential threats. Liriana, revealing more of her world's secrets, shared designs of Vianexian cloaking devices. "These were used during the wars," she explained. "They can bend light and perception, making things or people seem to vanish." David's network expanded to include engineers and scientists specializing in optical and quantum physics. Their curiosity piqued by the challenge, they contributed knowledge and resources, turning David's apartment into a hub of cross-planetary innovation. A new threat emerges. During a test of the cloaking device, Lena detected an anomaly, a brief, unexplained spike in their energy readings. "Something's not right," she murmured, scanning the data. "This spike, it looks like it was triggered externally." The revelation was chilling. It meant that their activities might still be monitored despite the successful counterstrike. The possibility of a spy within their midst or a surveillance device previously undetected loomed large over them. Unity against adversity. Determined to root out the new threat, they conducted a thorough sweep of their equipment and communications. Liriana's expertise in surveillance countermeasures was instrumental. She guided the team through protocols that were standard security on Vianex, but revolutionary on Earth. Their search uncovered a sophisticated listening device hidden within the lab's own wiring, likely installed during one of the many deliveries of equipment. "They're not just tracking me, they're listening," Liriana concluded grimly. Forging ahead. With the device neutralized, the team fortified their defenses further, enhancing their surveillance and counter-surveillance capabilities. The breach was a stark reminder of their vulnerability, and the lengths to which Liriana's enemies would go to recapture her. As they worked, the bonds among them deepened, forged in the fires of shared danger and a mutual commitment to safeguarding not just one life, but the principles of freedom and sanctuary. They became more than allies. They were comrades, each bringing their unique strengths to a fight that was as much about protecting their future as it was about defending against the past. Their resolve hardened, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The team pressed on, their mission clear and their spirits undeterred. They were pioneers on the frontier of a new kind of warfare, one that spanned galaxies and tested the limits of human and alien collaboration. The stakes had never been higher as David, Lena, and Liriana prepared for what could be their final confrontation. With their new defense systems operational and their network alert to any breach, they stood ready, a unified front against the encroaching darkness. A decisive plan. With the cloaking device now perfected, it could make Liriana virtually invisible to her pursuers' sensors. However, they knew that hiding was only a temporary solution. "We need to send a clear message," David declared. "We won't be intimidated into silence." Lena suggested using their own surveillance against them. "Let's turn the tables. We'll use the device we found to feed them false information, lead them into a trap." Liriana agreed, her eyes alight with a fierce determination. "Yes, and in doing so, we can expose their operations to the intergalactic community. It could deter further attacks. The trap is set." They crafted a meticulous plan to lure the enemy into believing that Liriana was relocating to a remote part of Earth, unprotected and vulnerable. Meanwhile, David contacted his allies in the international and interstellar law enforcement communities, preparing them to intercept the invaders once they took the bait. As the enemy fleet descended, drawn by the false signals, they found not a helpless target, but a coalition of Earth's best defenses ready to enforce celestial law. Battle of Wills. The confrontation was brief but intense. Earth's forces, enhanced by Vianexian technology, disabled the invaders' ships, capturing them in a net of quantum fields. Broadcast live, the event showcased the strength and unity of Earth's resolve to protect all sentient beings within its reach. Liriana stood with David and Lena as they watched the events unfold, her heart heavy with the weight of what this victory meant for her people and her future. A new dawn. In the aftermath, Earth's role in galactic politics grew. The planet was recognized not just as a sanctuary, but as a formidable force in maintaining peace and justice. Liriana's plight had ignited a broader movement for the protection of all beings, regardless of their origin. With her pursuers now under custody and their intentions exposed, Liriana was officially granted asylum on Earth. However, she chose to use her new position not to seek revenge, but to foster dialogue and reconciliation among her people. Legacy of the Starborn. David, Lena, and Liriana continued to work together, their efforts now supported by a world awakened to the possibilities and responsibilities of cosmic citizenship. They established a foundation promoting interstellar understanding and defense, ensuring that no other being would have to endure Liriana's trials alone. As they looked out over the cityscape, now lit by both the setting sun and the rising hope of a united interstellar community, they knew the road ahead would be filled with challenges. But they also knew they would face them together, as defenders of a world that had truly become part of a larger universe. Together, they had turned fear into fortitude, conflict into collaboration. And in the light of a new era, they were ready to lead Earth into its destined role in the cosmos, where once they had stood alone, now they stood together.